Hi everyone, it's Leanne Smith with Leanne's Estate Sales. Hope you're doing fabulous. Today I want to help you in the process of finding a great estate sale company. I took a few minutes after I read this article on Commercial Digest. They had an amazing article called The Truth About Estate Sales, and was blown away at the volume of estate sale fraud that is committed in our country. I then decided, well, I'm going to Google that. So I Googled estate sale fraud, and over 2 million possibilities came up, and they range from articles to actual professional news companies throughout the country that highlighted in different areas estate sale companies that committed fraud. Some of them really big in California and in Arizona. And I'm sure that if we looked at all those 2 million, we're going to see newscasts all around the country. So what I thought I could do for you today is give you some sources, some things that can help you to avoid fraud. Now, you know, each item we're going to cover, I literally wrote it down, so you're going to see me looking down here and there. Is important. So later on, I might get more in depth in each of these different areas that you need to be looking for and what questions to ask. My intention is purely to help you as a consumer make sure that you are hiring the best person. As you know, as I've said before, it's real important that you meet the people and feel comfortable and confident with them. Sometimes you're across the country and you're not right in the area that you need to be in. So if that happens, these questions and things we're going to cover will help you. Okay, so let's get to it. Again, if you have time, you could Google Consumer Digest and read their article about the truth about estate sales. Okay, and the thing is right now is that, you know, estate sale services companies like mine, we're not legislated by states or different counties besides your business license and things like that. So there isn't a clearinghouse. So it's easy for someone to commit fraud. And again, what I'm going to do is give you the items to be asking for. Okay, so let's start from the top. And this list that I'm going through, of course, I've added onto it, but this was a list created by the Attorney General of Minnesota. And I thought it was so good that I wanted to share with you. Okay, so here we go. So the first one is number one, shop around. You know, if you see someone on the internet or an internet site, that's great. But you definitely want to, if you can, if it's possible, unless you're absolutely 100% sure they're very professional, you'll want to interview a couple companies. Okay, and so shop around a little bit, ask friends. If they know of somebody, and even if they do, you still need to go through all the rest of the checklist, but at least see if you can find one that way. Okay. The second thing is to research the company. That's not so hard. You can Google them. You can ask for references, and the references are not the same as someone saying, "Oh, yeah, they were a great company," you know, on their website, like a review. A reference would entail a phone number. So you could actually call the people, ask them when their estate sale was, you know, how much money did they make you? You know, and that would be on the personal property. Don't ask people about how much money they made you for real estate, because they're not going to tell you that. So do more research about them. Okay. Now you want to make sure they're insured and bonded. Those are two different things. Okay. Insured is basically for liability purposes. Bond, it would be more like if they sold something at the wrong price, and you know, you could go back and say they didn't sell it right. Now, speaking of that pricing, we're going to get to that in just a second. So the other thing, so we want to talk about is their pricing and their operation. We'll go back to that bonding for a second there. So basically, items are researched. There's no way that one person, myself included, even though I've been at this since I was a kid, there's no way in heck I could know the value of every item or everything. Also, trends in antiques and collectibles go like this, just like artwork goes like this. So it might have been like, oh, that Bauer bowl was worth $50 5 years ago. Now it's worth 10. You see? So the pricing questions that you want to know is, how do you decide on the values? A reputable company will research everything they can. Not everything can be researched. Not everything can be done. And that's just a valid thing you need to understand. No matter how big or small the company is, not every single thing gets researched. We do the best we can, and we value the items based on your current market. So what I can get in my area may not be the same that someone can get out in Ohio. So you got to remember it's based on that. But you want to know, how do you price your items, okay? The next thing you want to know is, how do you operate your estate sale? What is important about that? You want to know how, if they're going to have security, how many people will be there, how many cashiers do you have, things like that. Like, how is it operated, okay? We have a system and flow that we use every single time. So it's a consistent, we know what works. So we use the same system. So if they're reputable, been around for a while, they're going to be able to tell you exactly how they run their estate sales. That would be operations, okay? Operations would also be this, how do you begin? Like, what do you do first? And when you get into the house, things like that, okay? Now, the other thing that is really important is a contract. So let's go over again. You shopped around, you've done some research. Okay, they look okay. They've done some sales, so they have a good reputation. You know they're insured and bonded. You want both, insured and bonded. And now you've kind of figured out how they do the pricing and the operations. You're feeling pretty good. Here's the big one, the contract. If they don't have a contract, that's over. Conversation done. Because a contract will let you know exactly what's expected of you and what they're going to do. It needs to spell out the percentage that you're going to be paying. Typically, most estate sales are done at 30 to 50%, depending. On a hoarding situation, it could be larger. It just depends on the size of and scope, okay? So larger estate sales doesn't necessarily mean lower commissions. It really, what it comes down, are percentages. What it comes down to is the scope and amount of work that company's going to have to do to prepare, okay? So on the contract, it'll talk about who's doing the advertising, who's paying for the advertising, right? If there's the labor for the extra help or the cashiers, who's paying for that? It's all should be spelled out in your contract 100%. What also is very important, as definitely noted, is how and when you're going to get paid, okay? The Attorney General of Minnesota says you want to be paid immediately. Now, this is on his site. You can go see it. Immediately, to me, would mean within, 72 hours, within 3 days, okay? But it's up to you to decipher what works for you. You definitely don't want to be, it doesn't want to be beyond 3 or 4 days. That's just nuts. There's no reason. Why do they need your money? The second thing that's real important that he put on there besides that was for you to require the company to provide a detailed records and documentation. So before hiring a company, he says, make sure they will be giving you an itemized list identifying each item that marked for sale and the actual price collected for each item, instantly getting a copy. So as you know, I've said before, I think it's highly important that you work with an estate sale company that's professional. Professional meaning, besides all those other items we just talked about, that they have the use of software programs, they're computerized, their technology is up to date. So every item gets a code, it gets a price, it gets a description, and then a barcode, which makes it easier to zip people to the line, so that you can see what price they actually listed it for sale and the actual price it sold for. Now, when you have these software programs, it's as simple as a touch, a click, out prints the whole thing, and then you give the person their check plus that printout. Now, our company, we do not put barcodes or itemized items valued under $25, because you can imagine there's forks that maybe worth $1, and hundreds of items that will be way less than 25. So our rule is 25 and above. So you need to find out, how would they do that? If they said, oh, we're going to give you receipt books that are handwritten, does that mean every single item is itemized? And that doesn't help you all the way thoroughly, because if your fiduciary agreement as a conservator or the public administrator or trustee or executor, your job is to make sure that everything is sold at the highest value possible, and it alleviates any liability on you If you can say to the heirs or whoever you're doing the job for, here is the list of everything and what it's sold for, and here's the copy of the check that we received. It's really important. So what I want to say in conclusion is that in order to avoid you hiring someone that has had fraud or could cause fraud, please note all these items. It's not that big of a list. Real simply, the key is they must have a contract, a written contract with everything spelled out, including what happens after the sale with all the items left in the house, okay? They need to be bonded and insured. Protect yourself. That liability insurance, if no one's ever been hurt at one of my sales, but it could happen. That's why they call it insurance. So make sure they have that. Make sure that they have a way to give you a full-on, itemized, detailed price list versus price sold, so you know exactly what's going on, okay? So do yourself a favor and get educated in these items before you hire an estate sale company, wherever you are in the country, okay? I wish you the best. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.